I've got some stories about my family and the shit cabin that we used to live in. When I was growing up, my dad was a total asshole. He justifies it by saying he had a rough upbringing. Rumor has it that his mother was a witch. She was really into tarot cards, prophecies, things like that. She always said she would never be 60 years old. 2 nights before her 60th birthday, she and another woman were found dead. A relative took care of everything when she died, so despite our attempts to find out what happened, no one was let in on the circumstances of her death. The family last name means something satanic in a foreign language. Growing up, we have heard whispers of a curse that all relationships within the family are destined to fail. Every single person in our family has gotten a divorce. There are no blood male heirs to the name. It's the end of the lineage. Anyways, Dad loved antiques. The house was full of them. When his obsession started, so did the weird things. My dad hoards gold coins. He starts compulsively buying things. Nothing of value, mind you. He is only buying old junk. Just heaps and heaps of old useless junk. I don't know if that junk invited something in, but things started getting really weird in that cabin. One night, my dad got mad and whipped my door open, which broke my mirror. That night, I had sleep paralysis and saw a towering, slightly transparent, black shadow figure hunched over me. I could feel it trying to speak to me, in my mind, but I tried my hardest to ignore it. Basically repeat in my head, la la la, I can't hear you, la la la. It actually works like a charm somehow. Be me, I'm a demon fighter. I started hearing things more and more. At the time, we were living in a very nice suburban neighborhood. I came home from school and said, "Hey guys, I'm home." I heard a female voice reply, "I'm glad you're back." I heard footsteps upstairs, a door open and close, and then something big fell over. Seconds later, the phone rang. I answered. It was my mom. She said, "I'm so sorry, no one is home. We will be back in half an hour or so." I booked it. I ran barefoot straight to the neighbor's house. I only came back home when my parents returned. They searched the house for something that would have made the loud falling sounds, but they found nothing. This would happen a few more times. Mom got really sick with pneumonia and got really into spiritual warfare. She started speaking in tongues, prophesizing about end times, fainting at church, basically turned into a total fanatic. My dad joined the Doomsday Movement circa 2012. This is when everything in my family's life dramatically changes for the worse. My dad decided to move us to the mid-Atlantic in a dilapidated cabin from the late 1700s in unspecified Albania, and it shows. There was no water, no toilet, only one light bulb to light the whole place. 3 miles down the road from a historic mass murder location, that was where our cabin was. Charming and a good move for the family, don't you think? It's not like it had a reputation, or that realtor who sold it to us would not step into the house. Oh wait, it did. The realtor told us that we could go in, but that he wanted nothing to do with it. Even with this warning, Dad falls in love with the cabin and buys it. Nice move, Dad. We move into the house. Later find out that multiple people died on the property. We find orbs and weird distortions in pictures from the property. We find out that the prior owners had known mental issues. We find out that it is known as a haunted house to local old-timers. The cabin had vertebrae and other large bones in the stone structure. There were chains all over the sides of the house. There were rats and snakes and mice that walked freely in the house, and the basement was full of ancient jars of pig feet. The house was covered in Christian decor and relics from past owners, i.e., crucifixes, holy pictures, saints, etc. And I mean covered. Every single doorway, every single wall. We took it all down because, eyesore. Needless to say, it was all creepy as fuck. My father even found a full box of letters from the previous owners and burned them all after reading them. He would not let anyone else see the contents. For the first time ever in his life, he did not hoard something. Certain areas of the log house were worse than the others. The basement was horrifying, the attic was a no-go zone, and the floor was caving in certain areas. Everyone took notice of one window. They said they felt someone watching them from it. Nobody could ever shake that feeling. Still, even to this day, the window makes us uncomfortable. Even one of the old-timers, after we all agree that the window is fucking weird, tells us a story about that exact window. He would say that when he was little, he and his homies would all play chicken with the cabin. They would see who could get closest to the cabin before getting scared. Him and his friends would all talk about how they felt the center window, the same window that weirded us out, was haunted. The paranormal activity starts ramping up. My friend and I were babysitting my brother, hanging out right by the alleged haunted window. He was barely able to speak, autistic speech delay. He stares in front of us, smiles wide, and exclaims, "Hi, Betsy." We freak out. "Who are you talking to, kid? You never talk." I asked my parents what was the name of the girl who died in the house. Her name was Betsy. She died from illness when she was 16 years old. Nope. With the move, my parents joined a crazy Christian church. Pretty much a cult. I am Christian, but this was crazy. Crazy in the sense that if you have cancer or get sick, it's your fault because you took communion the wrong way. My parents' language would change when talking about the church or the pastor. They would strangely say, "Hello, pastor," or to us would say, "You have to listen to pastor." The pastor was basically new God. My narcissistic dad learns about holy oil and anoints the whole property. My dad began to go crazy. I mean, really crazy. He would not let us leave the property. He would not let us buy anything. He gave us a tiny food budget for a family of 6. All of our clothing had to be bought through him. My mother could not clean anything that was his, and she was not allowed to get a job. She was not allowed to communicate with her side of the family at all. My dad would do everything he could to prevent her from doing any of these things. He became a total control freak. We lost everything and became entirely dependent on his rare good moods. He starts claiming that my mother is possessed. He screams over her. He rebukes the demons within her. He throws his hands up and all as he pins her against a wall. He calls the pastor over for impromptu exorcisms. This is obviously completely overwhelming for my autistic siblings. As my dad becomes more and more crazed, I start seeing figures and phenomena around the house. Mind you, my father attests that this was the best time of his life when we were all together under one roof. Meanwhile, psycho shit starts happening. My sleep paralysis starts up again, and it gets worse than before. My dad leaves the house after a fight with my mom, and the window is sucked out of the house and crashes to the ground outside. I have never seen anything like it before or since. The room just felt like a vacuum. My sleep paralysis starts to get worse. The log home starts falling apart. So does my parents' marriage after my mom realizes just how bad the situation has gotten. She leaves the cult, and my dad recruits the pastor to help get rid of her demons again in an attempt to get her back. I leave the house to go and live on a boat. Years go by. My BF and I visit the property. Why we went there, I don't know. My parents are still going through a crazy divorce. My dad is just losing it. So many years have gone by. I forgot how crazy the property is. I am trying to reconnect with my dad and want to introduce my BF to my family. Hold on tight, young man. My BF, Dad and I were enjoying a midnight bonfire 6 to 10 feet from the edge of the woodline. It was a slightly foggy and humid night. There's lots of tree frogs and katydids humming in the background. It was super loud in the middle of the night, but that's a mid-Atlantic summer for you. My psycho dad started acting strange. The fire pit is in front of the log home, where the creepy window mentioned earlier is the only window that you can see. Forests always get louder and quieter. That's just nature. We are all outdoorsy granolas, so we know what the woods can sound like. But all the sounds stop. Literally no noise at all, like a switch was flipped. It was dead silent. It was like a vacuum. My BF and I nervously laugh and wonder out loud about what could be walking out there. My dad stares at the fire and flatly says to ignore it. He turned expressionless. Both me and my BF say what the fuck to this. Suddenly, even though we are standing by a good-sized blazing fire, it gets cold as shit around us. We hear a shuffle in the woods in front of us. I think it's a cat. I look down to see that the cat is next to us. The cat's attention is locked on the woods right in front of us. She puffs up and bolts. The shuffle gets louder. It turns into what sounds like somebody running at us. It sounds huge, louder than any bear. Very heavy stomping that gets faster. It goes from a slow walk to a full sprint. It sounded huge. I feel like I really need to emphasize just how brick-shittingly loud this thing was. The branches move and break. It was like the scene in Lost where they see the smoke monster for the first time. Loud and obviously alarming. It definitely sounds like it was running on 2 feet, and by the end, is running fast as fuck. My blood and my BF's blood runs cold. It felt like that part in Lord of the Rings where Frodo tells the other hobbits to get off the road with that crazy zoom effect. We both tense up and madly backpedal as we are taken off guard by whatever the fuck is coming at us. Basically trying to get the fuck out under any and all circumstances. Help me, baby Jesus. Dad does not move. He is still blankly staring into the fire. He reacts to nothing. The running stops at the edge of the firelight, from a deafening full sprint to zero noise at all. That is impossible for even any pro athlete to stop that fast. It just straight up disappears. My BF comes to his senses. He grabs a super bright ass flashlight and shines it to where the invisible obese running man noise was. We held our breath, frozen in shock. There was nothing standing there, nothing at all. No imprints of feet in the grass, no movement of branches, no evidence of broken branches, even though it was as loud as a tree falling. Just dead silent. We are totally confused, saying nothing to each other, staring with our jaws dropped to the floor. Dad just says it's nothing. He still does not break his stare from the fire. He acts strangely and disconnected for the rest of the night. The bugs start chirping again, but there is still no movement. There are no more footsteps, just the sound of crickets and crackling fire. Bedtime? Another night. BF has to go pee, but because there are no working toilets, he goes outside to the tree line behind the log home. We stay in a small guest house to the front right of the cabin. He says that while he was peeing, he heard knocking coming from the side of the house. He thought it was a woodpecker or some other animal. He brushes it off and finishes. He starts walking back and hears frantic loud knocking coming from the side of the log home. He nopes the fuck back to the guest house and closes the blinds. He tells me that days before, he saw a white translucent shape in the creepy window go from left to right. It freaked him out. It freaked me out. My father's narcissistic qualities get more severe. My father and I have a falling out. My BF and I realize that we need to leave before the shit hits the fan. We start packing up to leave when my BF sees a large looming figure on the porch in broad daylight. I did not get a good look at it, but I saw it in my peripherals. It is at least 8 feet tall. It's hunched over. It is staring right at him from beyond the glass door. The lights flicker and go out. Joy to the world. We are plunged in darkness in the property of an unhinged psychopath. My BF says that the creature looked diamond-shaped, like it had its arms pressed to its sides. It had a funny shape on top of the head. My BF did not get a good look at that. We are spooked, but keep on packing. Due to some circumstances, the truck was not ready to move, so we have to stay the night. Darkness falls, and the sounds of the footsteps can be heard on the roof, and in the house. The sound of walking is coming from everywhere. The cats won't leave the front door of the house alone. Moments later, they start screaming. We don't move a muscle and just stay on the couch. The couch has a small window directly in front of it. We see a pale, gaunt face hovering in the lower right-hand corner of the window. There was no curtain blocking the window, so you could always see straight in, or straight out, to the log house. The face moves from bottom right across to the left, then up, and then vanishes. The next day, my dad goes crazy and tries to kill us. He blocks my BF's truck in. At the time, it had a huge camper shell on the back of it, making it hard to maneuver sometimes. He tries to lure him to the woods. My BF says no. We frantically throw all of our shit in the truck. We drive the truck through the garden to get out and do not care. My dad hops on the lawnmower. It's a huge, old-school mower, just another piece of ancient junk he has collected, and tries to ram into the truck. He barely misses us, and we speed off. Weeks later, Dad comes over to my mother's house, 2 hours away. He stands in the driveway angrily. Custody thing. Control freak thing. My BF hears a loud raps at the door in the bedroom that he was in, not at the front door. The door then proceeds to shake violently. He chalks it up to my autistic brother playing tricks on him. My BF looks outside and sees my brother standing in the driveway with my crazy father. He finds it weird but moves on. I am cooking dinner when my phone rings. The caller ID says it's my mom. I watch the call ring, but like I said, I was cooking and could not answer. The call stops. Mom must be calling to make sure Dad left. I return the call almost immediately. She is shaken. She asked if I was playing a joke on her. What? I reply. She says an old man with a mountain accent answered and said, "I am mad at you," over and over in a deep, gravelly voice. No one answered my phone. I watched it dial. I watched her hang up. I hear my autistic brother having a meltdown in the other room. I run in to see what happened. He puts a finger gun to his head and says he wants to die. He says that there is a demon inside of him. I console him and try to talk him through it. My dad pulls out of the driveway and all goes back to normal. Can anyone tell me what the fuck was at the cabin, or provide any sort of insight to what all of this could be? Hey, hope you've enjoyed the story so far. If you want to hear more, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment because it lets YouTube know you like the content and helps more people to see these videos. My next big goal for the channel is 100,000 subscribers, and as a celebration, I will be doing a Q&A video once we hit that goal. Thank you, and back to the stories. I grew up in Ohio in the 70s, and me and my childhood friend Joe were outside all of the time we could manage it. Joe lived on a farm that bordered a pretty big forest, and my parents would drop me off in the morning, and we'd stay in the woods all weekend. We would only come out for school. We loved pretending we were frontiersmen. We would build shelters, traps, practice making fire with sticks, the whole 9 yards. When we got to be in high school, we got this notion to pull a Stand By Me. This was based on the movie of the same name that had just come out. The idea was that we would walk the railroad tracks out in the country, but instead of looking for a dead body, we would find cool bridges to fish from and camp a little ways off the tracks. Of course, we knew this was dangerous, and we would likely be trespassing, but we were kids. We had a lot of fun. We did find beautiful rivers. We discovered bridges no one went to. We fished. We hid from trains. At night, we camped in woods just near the tracks and made small hidden fires. Nothing bad ever happened. It was idyllic. In fact, it was so fun, we did it multiple times. Never had a problem. After high school, me and Joe went our own ways. We both left home, but always stayed in touch and always tried to coordinate visits so that we would see each other occasionally. Well, one summer in the mid-90s, it worked out that we were both in town for about a week. We would do stuff with the family in the day, and at night, we would either catch drinks at a bar or sit outside Joe's house around a fire and talk about the old days. One night, me and Joe got to talking about our Stand By Me trips. Well, nostalgia and beer are a hell of a mix. Soon, we decided to take a day, walk the rails, camp one night, and walk home. The day came. We started out early morning. We had my wife drop us off in our old spot, where we used to start, right outside our hometown. She thought this was absolutely crazy and made sure to mention it. When she pulled away, Joe suggested that instead of walking the usual route, we would take the opposite direction, just to be adventurous. We knew the land well. We had a map, so I gave a what the hell, and off we set. The day went fine. It was fun and a little sad, but in a good way. We found a bridge and sat on the edge, smoked a joint, and moved on. We had no fishing gear, but we brought some canned food and other stuff. Before night started to set in, we picked a spot to camp. It was a thick, forested area, trees on every side of the train tracks, so you felt like you were in a tunnel. We had brought small hammocks to sleep on, but before we set them up, we decided to do a little scouting of the perimeter. Now, this is what we used to do in the old days too. We would walk around the area a little bit to make sure that some dude's house wasn't just over a hill and that we were actually camping on their yard. We walked maybe 100 feet or so into the woods and up a small incline. We figured if we didn't see anything from on top of this short hill, we would be fine. But when we got to the top, we saw an old building down at the bottom, about 100 yards into the woods. It was barely visible. We pondered over what to do. We both assumed it was a sugar shack or something, because there did not appear to be a clear road into it. From where we were, there did not look to be anyone inside of it either. All was quiet. No movement could be seen. No lights. We decided to walk a little closer just to make sure. We came down the hill very slowly, and as we neared the building, we saw it was not a sugar shack at all. It was an old church. It looked like it had been abandoned for years. It was a squat, sagging building whose wooden planks were almost black from years of moss and rot. A cross still stood on top of the place, also weathered black. None of the windows had glass, and there were no doors, just open doorways. We got close enough to see inside. There were rows of pews, and a built-up section in front for a preacher to stand. We did not go all the way in. We did not want to. Beyond all that, there was no sign of anyone else. No footprints, no paths, no roads. It was an abandoned church. We left immediately and went back up the hill to our spot that we had picked to camp. Having a hill between us and the church made us feel a little bit better, but we were still a little uneasy. We chalked it up to the natural creepiness that seeing a church in the middle of the woods would elicit. Besides, at this point it was dusk, and we just decided to rig up our hammocks and go to sleep, and move on at early morning. Night set in, and as we lay in our hammocks and shot the shit, we began to hear something in the direction of the church. Our conversation about it went a little like this. "Do you hear that? What the fuck is that? It sounds like people singing." And it did sound just like singing. We both slid right out of our hammocks and hunkered down, straining to hear more. We listened for a minute or two, and the singing continued, but it was not getting louder. Finally, we decided to creep back up the hill and see if we could spy where the sound was coming from. We could still move very quietly in the woods from the old days. It was second nature to us. The moon was barely out, but it provided enough light so you would not walk right into a tree, but it was near pitch black. We did not use flashlights as we crept slowly up the hill, and we did not talk. When we got to the top, we saw light in the distance. It was coming from the church, and the singing was coming from inside. Joe and I put our heads close together and had a hushed conversation that boiled down to, "Can you believe this shit?" The light looked to be candlelight from the way it flickered, and though we tried, we could not make out what was being sung. It sounded like church music, but in another language. We sat and watched for a while, trying to see who was in there, but we only saw occasional shadows. We had no intention of getting closer either. We had about a football-field length between us, and we aimed to keep it that way. The singing continued for a bit, and then it stopped. After that, a booming male voice began to chant. I was already freaked out, but this voice thoroughly scared the shit out of me. It sounded like some Old Testament preacher that you see in movies, but again, it was like he was speaking in a different language because we could not understand a single word. Eventually, it got to where the single male voice would say something, and then a bunch of voices would answer in song. This lasted for a while, and then they all broke into this long, sustained wail that just kept getting louder. It got so loud and so disturbing that I covered my ears, and then it stopped. At this point, I was getting ready to say, "Let's get the fuck out of here," when Joe put a hand on my shoulder and hissed, "They're coming out." We were far enough away that we could not make them out really well, but what we could see was a line of figures walk out the open doorway, all holding hands in a single file. We could see some of them had flashlights. They began to sing again, and the light from the flashlights began to move towards us and the hill. We booked it back down to our campsite, grabbed our shit, and ran to the tracks. Once there, we ran down the tracks in the direction we had come from. After a few minutes, we stopped and looked back. We saw lights coming down the hill. They were moving erratically, like whoever was holding them was shaking them. We continued to run in spurts and walk as fast as we could. We eventually stopped seeing the lights and came to a road. By our map, we knew a small town was about 15 minutes down it, and we walked there, got to a 24-hour gas station, and called my wife to come and get us. My wife and other friends all just thought it was kids messing around, but I heard those voices, and they sure as hell did not sound like kids to me. Not sure who those people were, but it was definitely the creepiest thing that happened to me out in the woods. When I was a kid, my great-grandmother told us stories of her father when she was little in the 1920s. He was a car thief, a killer, and an all-around psychopath that would do jobs for the Irish, Greeks, and Italians, who he fucking hated to no end and had killed plenty of, and the various other scumbags out of Philly, NJ, and NY. He was from up in the Poconos. There were these Pennsylvania Dutch hillbillies. He used to go with his sons to steal cars and kidnap showgirls and bring them back to his dungeon caves and shacks up in Monroe County, PA. I believe her. Her brother that I knew said that she had no idea what kind of shit the old man would go off and do. He used to do the broke-down scam on people, kill the man, throw the bodies off into the bottom of ravines, and keep the women. There is a reason Granny had 35 brothers and sisters. There are still some of the cars he decided to keep for himself and just rode around in till they fell apart. Then he would just leave them in the woods. There were hundreds of various old cars rotted away to almost nothing up there. Or there were, till my uncle got smart in 2001 and went up there to scrap everything and made $50,000 off of all of the pieces that did not rot by selling them to collectors that needed pieces to restore these old cars from them. The fucked up thing is, as bad of a man as he was, their house had a raid on it by the Wood Devils and the Baby Eaters in 1925, where these giant hairy things tore the house apart one night, and it caught fire from the thing throwing shit everywhere and biting the heads off of little children. The old man and the oldest sons shot the shit out of several of the things, told the older boys to get the guns out of the hiding spots that had not burned, and killed every one of the things they could find in revenge. All of her surviving siblings agreed on the story the last time I saw them in 1999. Yeah, they are fucking big. My great-great-grandfather was a big motherfucker. Not fat, big, 6'7", poor trash muscle, vicious as fuck, a total piece of shit, a murderer, and he broke a horse's neck with a punch in 1889 for trying to kick him. I have seen pictures of him when he was 40, and he was fucking terrifying. Like you see this guy in a picture, and you thank God he is dead. These hairy things made him look like a skeleton. The old man built his house to be a fortress, since he was an evil bastard, as prevention against other evil bastards that might want to get back at him. He had fucking murder holes that he built into the ceiling. The Wood Devils, as my great-granny's brother called them, and the Baby Eaters, as she called them, had been a thorn in my family's side since 1750. When we go over here from the old country, even the Native Americans up in the hills tried to warn the white folks about them, but half my family that came over at the same time were mercenaries from Europe that skipped out on big debts, and they just did not give a fuck. From the stories I was told, they like to attack at night, and during rain, especially in spring and late winter. We had around 20 attacks from 1804 to the big flood of 1847, where we went from being very prosperous to having clothes that we were wearing and a hungry belly overnight. All of the crops got flooded out. There were stories of man-eaters roaming around. My grandmother refused to let us outside without at least 2 adults watching us at all times. People said she was a paranoid old woman, but she had her shit together and knew damn right well what was in the woods. They attacked moonshine stills to deal the mash and drink the booze stock you distill the shine from. They steal any animal they can carry off, small children. They will rip the plants right out of your garden. They will kill horses to eat them. Horses are utterly terrified of them, and as good as dogs for spotting them. Maybe better. Goats hate them too. My uncle had said they lived in these caves that were hidden under heavy brush and other objects. Huge-ass caves under the ground up in the Poconos. There was one less when they were done. In case you ask, you burn them out. Lots of kerosene, gasoline, and any other solvents on hand, especially stuff like benzene, sacks of coal to keep them from jumping out, and plenty of men with shotguns. Bars, shotguns, Tommy guns, dynamite. You set the place up like an arson, so the dynamite will catch when you light the entrance, and the fire follows the fuel back. You take no chances with them. My uncle said the old man had poison in a big container that he dragged into the cave and poured everywhere. That shit was flammable as fuck too. He said that there were dozens of the hairy things in there, along with human bones and dead women. Lots of dead women, and even a few black people, which should not have been possible, because there were no black people anywhere near where they lived back then. That bothered them bad, and it bothered my great-great-granduncle till he died in March 2001 at 105 years old. He said if I see those things, to kill them with no hesitation or mercy, and he hated the Harry and the Hendersons movie. When this happened, he sent the surviving children in that house to family in Philly and out in Jersey for a while to keep them safe from retaliation. The last one was seen in 1957, 3 weeks before my grandfather went to the army. It flipped over a 1947 Ford truck. It was then ventilated by everyone with a gun. They burned it to bones, then scattered the bones. These things would attack the Native Americans too. Eastern Bigfoot are vicious monsters. Kill them where you find them. You are doing the human race a great service if you do. The reason the house went up so fast was from the booze they had stored in the root cellar till the next trip to Philly. Yes, I am part Wampanoag. The old chiefs talk about bad and good spirit places and trees in the woods. Bad trees are beeches and any tree that grows in deep shade and poison oak and ivy. The Green Lady or Diana, or as the French in Quebec call her, Artemis, rules the woods. I have seen and talked to her many times. She told me to watch out for the beeches. If lost in the woods or something, I call on Diana or Pan. They will always help you against the evil spooks. I am not worried over Bigfoot. The Nez Perce I know think they are extinct. The Wampanoag and others talk more about what some Native American people call the Wendigo, a bad spirit that gets you lost and turned around in the woods.